Lyra Tan opened her eyes slowly. The first thing she noticed was the hum of the ship, deep, steady, and almost alive. The walls around her were smooth, pale metal, glowing faintly with soft lights. She sat up, rubbing her wrists where the restraints had held her. They were gone. That much she could thank the Zitraxi, or perhaps their carelessness. The Zitraxi were a tall, alien species with long, slender limbs and skin that shimmered like liquid silver. Their faces had no expressions humans could read easily. They spoke in clicks and whistles, a language she could not yet understand. Their eyes, black and reflective, scanned every corner, every prisoner. And now they were watching her. "You will remain in this sector," one of the guards clicked in broken Galactic Basic, pointing to a small holding area. "Do not move without command." Lyra nodded slowly. She had learned to nod, to smile, to look weak. She knew the rules of survival, and in this alien prison, survival was more important than pride. The cell was small, just big enough to sit and lie down. A thin mattress was all that covered the floor. Lyra looked around. There were other humans here, some silent, some whispering fears to each other. A few were older, their eyes hollow with resignation. Lyra clenched her fists. She refused to feel that way. She would not give up. Days passed. She learned the routines of the Zitraxi guards. They were careful, disciplined, and above all, predictable. They moved in pairs, never speaking except to issue commands. They were strong but not clever in ways humans were. Lyra watched, memorized, and waited. During one routine inspection, she noticed something strange. The ship itself seemed to respond to her presence. When she passed the walls, lights pulsed softly, as if the ship were listening. At first, she thought it was a trick of her imagination. But then subtle doors opened slightly, corridors shifted, and she realized this was no ordinary alien vessel. "Ship," she whispered, testing the voice in the empty corridor. The hum changed, deeper now, almost like a reply. Lyra's heart raced. She had always believed that humans were special in ways other species could not understand. Now, the ship itself seemed to agree. She decided to experiment carefully. The next night, when the guards were at rest, Lyra slipped from her cell using a small maintenance hatch she had discovered. The hallways were unfamiliar, twisting in impossible angles, but she remembered what she had seen before. Following the soft, pulsing lights, she navigated deeper into the ship. It was there, in the control hub, that she first felt a connection to the vessel. Panels glowed in response to her touch. Buttons and screens flickered, then settled into patterns she somehow understood. It was as if the ship remembered her, or perhaps someone like her. She didn't know why, but she felt a thrill she had not felt in weeks. Lyra spent hours exploring, careful not to alert the Zitraxi. Every discovery was small but meaningful. A shortcut between decks, a storage room with emergency rations, and a control panel that could shift the ship's internal layout. She realized the Zitraxi had never considered that a human could use the ship's own systems against them. But freedom was not yet hers. Each time she returned to the holding sector, the guards looked at her with suspicion. They could not see what she was learning, could not understand that a human mind worked differently. They thought her cleverness was mere luck. One evening, as the ship glided silently through deep space, Lyra hummed a soft human melody, one her mother had taught her long ago. The notes were simple, almost forgotten, but they carried a strange power. The ship pulsed in response, brighter now, almost as if it recognized the tune. Lyra's eyes widened. The Zitraxi guards would have noticed nothing. They never paused to listen. But the ship was alive in ways the aliens could not comprehend. She realized that survival here would not be about fighting strength with strength. Humans had a different tool: creativity, courage, and cunning. Lyra smiled faintly. She would not be a prisoner forever. She would learn, adapt, and find her way. And perhaps, just perhaps, the ship itself would help her. That night, the guards left her cell unattended for a moment longer than usual. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the subtle hum beneath her fingers, beneath her feet. She whispered the melody again, more boldly this time. The ship responded instantly, opening a panel in the wall. Inside, a small passageway led toward the deeper decks. Her heart raced. This was her chance. Every step was careful, every movement calculated. The aliens thought she was weak. They thought she was just a human prisoner. But Lyra knew better. She had seen the patterns, felt the ship's secret pulses, and understood its silent language. Somewhere deep inside, she felt a connection to something bigger, something that could turn the tables in ways the Zitraxi could never imagine. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew she was ready. For the first time since her capture, Lyra smiled freely. The game had begun. And in this game, humans were not easily defeated. Lyra's heart beat fast as she crawled through the narrow passageway hidden behind the control panel. The soft hum of the ship seemed to grow louder, almost like a voice whispering encouragement. She had never felt anything like it before. This was not just a machine. It was alive in ways the Zitraxi could not understand. She paused for a moment in a small maintenance room. Pipes and wires crisscrossed the walls, but her eyes were drawn to a panel that glowed faintly. It was unlike anything she had seen in her studies back on human colonies. Curiosity overcame fear. She reached out, her fingers brushing the smooth surface. Immediately, lights pulsed in sequence, and the panel slid open silently. Inside, a small console displayed symbols that seemed almost familiar. Lyra frowned. She had no idea how she could read alien script, but the patterns were logical. She touched one of the symbols and the ship shivered slightly, almost like it had acknowledged her touch. "What are you?" she whispered. The hum shifted again. This time it was not just a vibration under her fingers, it was deeper, resonating through her chest. The ship was reacting. It remembered. Somehow it knew her, or maybe it recognized the echo of someone like her. Suddenly, alarms blared in a distant part of the ship. The Zitraxi guards had discovered that one of the maintenance panels had been opened. Lyra froze, listening to the clicks of alien boots approaching. She had to hide. She ducked into a narrow ductway, crawling silently as the guards passed by. Their silver skin shimmered in the dim lights, and their voices clicked angrily at each other. Once the danger passed, she continued deeper into the heart of the vessel. Every step she took was guided by the ship itself. Doors opened just as she approached, corridors shifted slightly, and lights pulsed to guide her path. It was as if the ship wanted her to find something. Eventually, she arrived at a large room filled with complex controls, screens, and strange holographic maps. She had never seen technology like this. The room felt sacred, alive with the memory of centuries. Lyra's fingers hovered over a holographic display. She remembered stories from her father about old human fleets, how humans could think differently from any other species. And now she realized that maybe the ship itself understood that. "Show me," she whispered, touching one of the glowing icons. The ship pulsed in response and the display rearranged itself. Symbols shifted, forming patterns she could understand. The ship was teaching her. Suddenly, a voice echoed, not from a Zitraxi but from the ship itself. It was faint, electronic, and yet familiar. "Human pilot," it said. Lyra's eyes widened. "Me?" she asked, barely daring to breathe. "Yes, recognized," the ship replied. "Ancient command sequence, voice signature matches." Lyra stumbled back. Could this be real? Could a Zitraxi vessel, one of the most feared ships in the galaxy, actually recognize a human? She could hardly believe it. The realization changed everything. She was no longer just a prisoner. She was something more. The ship itself had chosen her, or at least acknowledged her potential. But the danger had not passed. The Zitraxi had noticed something was wrong. Patrols increased, and the other human captives were becoming restless. Lyra knew she had to act carefully. Any sudden move could put everyone in danger. Over the next several days, she practiced quietly with the ship. She discovered that she could control certain functions, doors, lights, and even sections of the internal layout. The ship pulsed with each successful attempt, teaching her, guiding her, and preparing her for something larger. The Zitraxi guards remained unaware. They continued to treat her like a weak human, incapable of understanding the vessel they commanded. Lyra smiled faintly to herself. They were underestimating her, a mistake they would soon regret. One night, she whispered a soft human song into the control room. The ship responded immediately, lighting up in a sequence that spelled out a path. Lyra followed it, discovering a hidden chamber filled with star charts and fleet schematics. These were Zitraxi plans for attack, hidden in plain sight. Her mind raced. She could use this information. She could warn the human colonies, sabotage the Zitraxi strategy, and turn the ship itself into an ally. All she needed was the courage and precision to act. The next day, Lyra observed the guards closely. She noted their habits, their strengths, their weaknesses. Using the ship's hidden pathways, she moved silently, avoiding detection while mapping escape routes. Every move was deliberate, every action calculated. Humans were adaptable, she reminded herself, and she would prove it. As days turned into nights, Lyra's confidence grew. She realized that the Zitraxi had underestimated the humans' ability to think differently, to solve problems in ways that brute strength could not match. They relied on rules, routines, and logic, but humans had creativity, intuition, and courage. The turning point came when Lyra discovered the ship's central core, a massive energy hub that controlled every function. The Zitraxi did not guard it closely. They assumed no human could understand it. Lyra approached it cautiously, hands trembling slightly. As she touched the surface, the ship pulsed strongly, acknowledging her presence once more. "You are ready," the ship said. Lyra's heart leapt. This was her moment. With the ship as her ally, she could outsmart the Zitraxi, save the human prisoners, and change the course of this conflict. But she knew she had to be patient. One wrong move could destroy everything she had gained. For the first time since her capture, she allowed herself a moment of hope. The ship had remembered her, and now, together, they could challenge the Zitraxi in ways the aliens could never imagine. The final step in her plan required timing, courage, and trust in herself and the ship. She spent the next few nights preparing, practicing her moves, and learning the Zitraxi patrol schedules. Every detail mattered. Every mistake could be fatal. Finally, the night came. Lyra moved through the ship's secret corridors, guided by the pulses of the vessel. She reached the chamber where the human prisoners were held. Their eyes widened in disbelief as she appeared, calm and confident. "Follow me," she whispered. "The ship will help us." For the first time, the prisoners saw a human not as weak prey, but as a leader, someone who could think, act, and survive where the aliens could not. Hope sparked in their eyes. Together, they moved through hidden passages, the ship opening doors and clearing paths as they went. The Zitraxi guards were confused, caught off guard by a sequence of events they could not predict. Lyra led them to the heart of the ship, where she could finally take control. With every step, the pulse of the vessel strengthened, confirming that humans, clever and resourceful, could rise above even the most disciplined alien forces. By dawn, the prisoners were hidden in a safe area, and Lyra prepared for the next phase, using the ship itself to turn the Zitraxi's plans against them. She knew it would be dangerous, but she also knew humans were capable of extraordinary things when they had courage, intelligence, and an unexpected ally. For the first time in weeks, Lyra allowed herself a small smile. The game had shifted. The ship remembered her, the prisoners trusted her, and the Zitraxi, they had no idea what was coming. And so, Lyra prepared for the challenge ahead, ready to prove that humans, underestimated and underestimated again, could achieve the impossible. The first light of the distant sun filtered through the ship's hull, casting soft glows across the control hub. Lyra Tan stood tall, her fingers hovering over the console. Around her, the freed human prisoners waited silently, their eyes wide with hope and trust. The Zitraxi were still unaware that the balance had shifted, still believing that their human captives were weak and powerless. Lyra's mind worked quickly. Every observation she had made over the past days, every routine, every patrol, every pattern, was now a tool she could use. The ship pulsed beneath her touch, responding to her presence and commands. It was alive, yes, but it also trusted her. Together, they formed a partnership that the Zitraxi could not understand. "Stay calm," she whispered to the prisoners. "Follow my lead and do exactly as I say." The ship opened a hidden corridor that led directly to the lower decks, where the Zitraxi stored weapons and supplies. The route was long and winding, but Lyra had memorized every turn. She led the group silently, the humans moving like shadows behind her. Each step was measured, careful. Lyra knew that one mistake could alert the Zitraxi and ruin everything. As they moved, the ship pulsed with light and energy, subtly guiding them and even creating distractions. Doors closed unexpectedly, lights flickered, and alarms in distant areas went off, drawing the Zitraxi away from the prisoners' path. The aliens moved quickly but predictably, just as Lyra had anticipated. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with the Zitraxi fleet's navigational controls. Lyra's eyes shone. This was it, the heart of the ship. Here, she could turn the vessel itself into a weapon of strategy rather than destruction. She placed her hands on the controls, feeling the pulse of the ship beneath her fingers. "You are ready," the ship said. Its voice was calm, resonant, and confident. Lyra nodded. She opened a holographic map of the surrounding space. The Zitraxi fleet was spread out, each ship following strict protocols. They would never expect what a human could do with their own vessel. With careful precision, Lyra began to adjust the ship's course. Energy fields shifted, lights blinked in patterns that confused sensors, and the ship itself began to move in ways that the Zitraxi could not predict. The first Zitraxi patrol approached, clicking and whistling commands. Lyra held her breath. Then she pressed a sequence of controls and the ship's layout shifted suddenly. Walls moved, doors closed, and pathways disappeared. The patrol was trapped, confused, and finally forced to retreat. Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Humans could adapt, and now the ship itself was proving it. She turned to the prisoners. "We're not finished yet. Follow me carefully." The group moved again, deeper into the ship, reaching areas where Zitraxi weapons were stored. Lyra had studied the schematics and knew how to disable them without harming anyone. She directed the ship to lock the weapons bays and isolate power sources. The Zitraxi would be left without their advantages, and humans would have control of the ship. As they worked, Lyra hummed a human tune, the same one that had first awakened the ship. The vessel responded immediately, guiding them with soft pulses of light and vibration. It seemed alive with energy and determination, almost as if it were proud of her. Suddenly, a group of Zitraxi guards appeared in the corridor ahead, alerted by distant alarms. Lyra's mind raced. She pressed a series of controls and the walls shifted, creating a maze-like structure. The aliens clicked in confusion, unable to navigate. Lyra and the prisoners slipped past, their movements swift and silent. They reached the main bridge. From here, Lyra could control the entire vessel and, most importantly, ensure the safety of her people. The Zitraxi fleet outside would soon realize that something was wrong, but by then, humans would have the advantage. "Prepare for navigation override," Lyra said to the ship. "We will lead them away from human colonies and outmaneuver them." The ship pulsed in acknowledgement. Lyra entered a sequence of commands that aligned the vessel's systems with her plan. Energy shields strengthened, engines powered to maximum efficiency, and hidden controls opened paths that no Zitraxi could anticipate. Outside, the Zitraxi fleet moved with precision, confident in their strategy. But as they approached, The ship shifted unexpectedly, disappearing from their sensors and reappearing in a new position. Confusion spread quickly among the aliens. Their carefully laid plans were unraveling and they could not comprehend why. Lyra smiled. This was what humans did best, thinking differently, acting boldly, and using creativity as a weapon. With the ship as an ally, she guided the vessel through a series of maneuvers that left the Zitraxi disoriented. Their communications were blocked, their movements slowed, and their confidence shattered. Meanwhile, the human prisoners watched in awe. They had never imagined such a turn of events. The weak, helpless humans the Zitraxi had assumed they were now in command of one of the most powerful vessels in the galaxy. Lyra's leadership, combined with the ship's cooperation, had turned fear into hope. Hours passed as Lyra executed careful maneuvers, leading the Zitraxi fleet on a series of misdirections. She guided the vessel close to strategic points, forcing the aliens into positions where they could neither attack nor escape easily. The ship itself seemed to anticipate each move, responding faster than any human or alien could have imagined. Finally, Lyra activated the final sequence. Using the ship's advanced systems, she isolated the Zitraxi ships, preventing them from coordinating. Communications were blocked, engines were slowed, and their fleet was effectively trapped in space. Lyra had done it. Humans were no longer victims, they were the commanders. The prisoners cheered quietly, careful not to alert any remaining Zitraxi. Lyra allowed herself a small smile. The journey had been dangerous, but it had proven something important. Humans could survive, adapt, and even excel when faced with challenges far greater than themselves. The ship pulsed once more, a warm, steady rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat. "Human, you have proven yourself," it said. "Together we are stronger." Lyra's eyes glistened with emotion. She looked at the humans around her, seeing hope, courage, and trust reflected back. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "We will return home, and humanity will never be underestimated again." With a final series of commands, Lyra guided the vessel away from the trapped Zitraxi fleet. The stars stretched ahead, full of possibilities and new adventures. Humanity had survived, not through brute force but through intelligence, courage, and the willingness to think differently. The galaxy was wide, full of challenges, and yet full of opportunity. And as Lyra stood on the bridge, she knew one truth above all: humans could rise to any occasion, no matter how impossible it seemed. The ship hummed in agreement, carrying them forward into the unknown. And for the first time in a long while, Lyra Tan felt truly free.